Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Coffee with Jen and Eka. Surprise! It's not Sharon today. My friend Eka Taylor is joining us. Thank you. I know you all thought I only have one friend, Sharon, and that's pretty close to true, but thank goodness Eka was willing to stand in today and be my friend.
Having me here today. I feel like I'm on Brene Brown's podcast. Thanks for having me.
You were totally doing that, yes. So usually, since you're the new girl, I'm going to give you the lay of the land, Eka. We usually chat a little bit about what we're having to drink in the morning. What are you having? What's in your mug?
Oh, I am having, I brought this mug just for today.
Aw, did you have to buy that for yourself? I would have to buy that for myself.
No, but my kids gave it to me when they were in their 20s.
Okay.
So I am having organic vanilla rooibos tea.
Oh, is that how you say it? Rooibos?
Yes, I actually saw it phonetically spelled, and I remembered it. And it's
I thought it was like, but it has too many vowels. I can't figure it out. Rooibos.
That's how I saw it, and that's what I'm sticking with right now.
All right, I'm going with that. In my kitty cat mug today, I have Starbucks Italian roast with. I make my own lattes. I have my own milk frother.
Oh my!
I used to have the handheld, and I upgraded to the plug-in kind because I was going through batteries like crazy. Yeah, this is not a health food, people, but it is what sustains me and gives me life. So let me have this one vice.
There you go.
So the other thing you don't know, girlfriend, is that I usually throw Sharon a little curveball because even though we have a designated topic, I often take us off topic to start with just because I'm that way. So today I thought I had this really fun thing that I wanted to show you to see if you have one of these. I think Eka and I both celebrate Easter, right? You celebrate Easter in your house? And we're both empty nesters. So I don't know if you, but Eka decorates beautifully. I just want you to know that. Like
only for Christmas.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know. Is like, does this carry over for Easter or is it just Christmas?
No, you know what? It's so much energy at Christmas that I got nothing for anything.
Well, I'm not a big decorator myself either. And especially when the kids aren't home, all of our kids are out of the house now. But there's one item I always have to bring out for Easter because it just cracks me up. Oh, wait, I think I made a little pun. It's this. Do you have one of these? Have you ever had one of these?
No, I don't even know what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna demonstrate. Let me get it. It's a musical egg.
I thought, you know what? I thought it was a Jack in the Box. I thought
it should have something that pops out. But okay, here's the funny story of why I have this. Because I mean, obviously it's beautiful. Who wouldn't want to display this in their home? But my best friend from college, her parents had one of these. And when you got to the very last note, it was totally, completely out of tune, and it made me crazy. So every year she calls in and she plays it to me over the phone just to taunt me with that mechanical egg, horrible noise. And then one day she was in the thrift shop and she found one of these and she sent it to me. But it's, to my undying disappointment, it's completely in tune. So
okay.
Not the same experience, but it makes me think of her and it makes me smile. So every Easter this has to come out, no matter what. It's the only Easter decoration out right now in my house and likely to stay that way. So I'm disappointed to hear you don't decorate to the nines for Easter, but we're going to let you off the hook on that one.
Well, you've been to my house at Christmas, so you know how much effort goes into that.
Oh and my gosh.
It's kind of crazy. I think I'm up to 14 Christmas trees.
We're going to take a tour. I think this coming Christmas, I think we're going to do a visual tour of your house. We're going to take a video tour and show everybody. They won't believe it till they see it.
It's a little insane. It's, as my daughters say, it's Christmas on steroids.
Yes, so. I would agree. So, okay. Speaking of your daughters, I was asking you before this because we're talking today about organization and how some kids have it and some kids don't. You are one of the most organized people I know. So I figured probably your kids are super organized, right? Are they both really organized?
Absolutely not. My firstborn, which is kind of, I think, against all the firstborn thoughts, is incredibly disorganized, unbelievably disorganized. And the second one is so organized that she is even more organized than I am.
No, that's not possible.
It is absolutely possible. And I think the reason she's more organized than I am is because she's also a minimalist. So when you're a minimalist, it's actually easier to be organized.
That's probably true. The less stuff you have, the easier it is to keep it tidy and where it belongs. And so let me ask you, when they were teens and your disorganized elder daughter, did that drive you nuts that she was really disorganized? And
It did. You know what? It drove me nuts for a couple of reasons. One of them was because it drove me nuts. And the second reason was because her disorganization really affected her own life. You know, it affected her schoolwork. It affected, she was a huge swimmer. It affected her swim life because, you know, she'd forget goggles. She'd forget her fins. She didn't bring a towel, whatever. So, and then it also affected, you know, sometimes part of her social life because she'd forget that she was supposed to do something and her friends were going there and she hadn't remembered that she was supposed to do, you know, so it was hard for her. And, you know, of course, disorganization, then you can't talk about disorganization without thinking about ADD or ADHD.
right.
And we went back and forth with that for a long time. But anyway, how about your girls?
Well, same as you. Surprisingly, I have one who's fairly organized and one who's really not at all organized, but it doesn't bother her. I don't think that she is not what I would consider classically organized. Like she's the one whose room I just have to close the door and not look in there. She can't find things, but it doesn't seem to really bother her. Like she'll just make do. She'll work around it. So it was challenging during her, especially in middle school. It seemed like middle school is when this all fell apart. All of a sudden, when you have multiple teachers you have to hand things in for, and she would do the homework, but it just didn't get turned in. And maybe that's the first time I knew about it, because that's when you start using the online grade book and you're like, where is this? Where is that? Why didn't that get turned in? I saw you do it. And she'd be like, I don't know. I think I turned it in. Maybe I didn't turn it in. And we tried a lot of different things. Like, should we put it in binders? I think for a while we used one of those accordion folders for her. She had all of her subjects in one folder with the different tabs. But most of the time I would just find stuff crumpled in the bottom of her book bag. I'm like, well, here it is. It's right here. You just didn't see it. And I don't know what that is. But she is highly successful in college. I have just had to let go and let God with that one. Whatever works for her, it works. So that some of it is like, is it your problem with them being disorganized or is it their problem? And in your case, you recognized and she recognized that it was a problem for her. In my case, I had to realize it wasn't hindering her ability to be successful. So I just had to let it go.
Right. Well, I found academically that she did better. And I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. She did better with teachers that were willing to put in the work with us. See, one of the things that I did is I had the luxury of being able to be a stay-at-home mom. And being one of those crazy moms, I put a lot of my energy, into not necessarily just my girls, but like their schools. So I did a lot of volunteer work. So I knew teachers, I knew principals, I knew all these people. And so when she had a really good teacher, and we kind of worked as a team. So the years that she did better in school and the organization was better were the years that she had teachers that were willing to also work with us. There were some years that she didn't always have the best teacher. And those teachers sometimes, my kid needed a little extra. And if there was a teacher who was willing to put in a little extra and I was willing to do it, like we would have these, parent teacher conferences and we'd be like, what can we do as a team? Then it would work better. And I know that's not fair. I mean, that's why I was like, should I tell the story? But it seemed like, if everybody was willing to put in and then, she had to bring her part too, that's
the thing. It's like, sounds like she was willing. Was she willing to entertain the notion of how to become more organized, or was she like?
She did, but she also was also frustrating for her. She was like, everyone's trying to change me. This is the way I am. And but we felt sometimes like the 3-pronged approach with the teacher, us, and her, we could kind of work on it together if she was willing. Obviously, this is like, middle school. Obviously, as it got into high school, hands off. I mean, I wasn't with her teachers. I really didn't even know who they were. She did have a situation, I think her sophomore year, where things were falling apart with her studies, and her teacher called me, actually called me and said, this is what's happening. And we came up with a system where every Friday the teacher would send me an email describing how the week went. She hated it.
Wow. In high school, that's unusual. I mean, a lot of times by then, I think the teachers are like, hey, you got to figure this out.
Right. And you know what? And maybe it's because, I don't know why that one worked out, but she would email me every week at like a rundown of what was happening. And my daughter didn't like it, but it made her a lot more accountable. But she was willing to work with her. So I think that's part of it is having that buy-in sometimes. And
yeah, definitely.
And I mean, not everybody can have that. And maybe part of it is, maybe I sucked up to the teachers. I mean, I'm going to admit it, I did.
Thank you for your brutal honesty. I got
believe me, they got the homemade raspberry jam.
That's what I did wrong. I did not make homemade jam.
Yeah, we do that here for the holidays. So I mean, my kid was hard. My kid was a hard kid. So I felt like I needed to do my kid's hard, my kid's unorganized. Please. Thank you.
I do want to give people some hope and some light at the end of the tunnel that this kid is incredibly successful now.
She is. And actually, you know what? And here's the crazy thing is, no kidding, Stephanie.
Absolutely, Stephanie.
But she, after like blah 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 disorganization, finally was diagnosed with ADD, which is kind of what I thought, but it took a long time to get to that diagnosis. Because some teachers wouldn't be, they have to fill out, there's no qualitative test. There's no quantitative test. It's just a matter of filling out the sheets. And a lot of teachers, when we were the not as good years, weren't willing to fill it out because they didn't want to deal with it, think about IP, whatever. Those were the years that were the toughest. So she did that, so we finally figured it out. We got her on some Adderall. She was so happy too, because she was like, it's not just me, it's not just me.
I think that's so true. A lot of times our kids, they just want to feel listened to. And like, it really is, it's not that I'm trying to be difficult.
Right, exactly. So that was good. And it helped her. So now, like you mentioned, she's a pilot and she's not allowed to take Adderall. That's right. Which is fine. And she said that actually her disorganization is now helping her, because you have to look when you look at the panel, the flight panel, there are so many different measurements and everything, and you have to be able to look at all of them all the time. Yeah. You have to cycle through. And so she has that ability from years of not being able to, concentrate on one thing. And so she can pick up any slight differences in, the altitude or the whatever. And she's awesome. Come back to be something that's helped her.
Wow. That is a great little nugget of wisdom there too, is that sometimes we look at it as a disability, and it's not necessarily. It is just because they don't do things the way we do them doesn't mean it is not okay or even advantageous. She's found a way to make it work for her, not against her.
And you know what? And she also, I don't know if you found this with your oldest, is she actually did better organizationally as she got older, with tips and helpful hints from either classmates, friends, or teachers versus from me, because she was done. Like she was done with.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you about that, because I happen to know you do have really exceptional organization skills, and I wondered if she would take any advice from you. Like, do you want to give us a little example? Just give our audience a taste of your organizational style.
Well, I was joking about my knitting book, which no one wanted to see because they wanted to see the reveal. So for you listeners out there, I started knitting like a year and a half ago, and it just has to happened, I had been knitting for a couple months, and then COVID hit, and then, excuse me, and then all of a sudden I had, okay, it's time to knit. So I have a lot of yarn, and I don't know how to keep it. Like, I want to know what I used it for, what I did with it. So I came up with my knitting book.
It's a binder, people.
It's a binder, right?
Not a book. It's a binder.
It's a binder.
Let's see.
In it,
the reveal.
Here we go. So in it, I have the different yarns I've used.
Oh my God.
And I've actually cut a piece of the yarn and put it in here. So I know what yarn I have. And then I have the exact same label on the leftover. And on the leftover, it actually has on there what I used it for. So
and I'm sure you have the dye lot so that you know.
Oh, it's all in here. So these are these are the different yarns I've used with their little thing that came wrapped around it.
You are the person for whom these little protective pockets were made.
These are the little pockets that you would put business cards in.
Oh, right. When we used to need business cards.
And then of course, then I have all my patterns that I've used, complete with the dates and who it was made for, if I made it for somebody. Yeah.
And what is your storage system like for the actual skeins of yarn?
Those are in a bag, but because I don't know what else to do with them, they're in a bag, but then on the tail of them, I have that same little, these little things tied to them, because I make photocopies of the little, the little things that go around it. I make photocopies of them, and then I actually tie it to the yarn. So if you're like, hey, where's the lanas in navy? I could be like, hang on, let me look at my little bag, and I can pull it out, because the same little lanas thing is attached to my ball of yarn.
Everybody's watching this, and you need somebody to come like inventory your whole stock room. I don't think you could do any better than Eka.
Well, you know what? I got to tell you though. This is me. My younger daughter was a dancer, and they had all these costumes, and they didn't know what to do with them. And I came up with actually like a Dewey Decimal System. I think I call it like the 2-2 decimal system, where I took all the white costumes and all the tutus, because they were gonna do that, like where you put them in the bag and take the air out, so they're like,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so all the white tutus, and it's going to be white tutu 1A. Is like Lake, B is Nutcracker Snow. So I came up with a 2-2 decimal system so that they could categorize. And
I bet you got some good use out of that PT labeler system or whatever you have. Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
You know anybody who has a labeler like just within arm's reach at all times?
That was so funny, because I came up yesterday in our talk. Someone said, "Oh, Eka, do you have a label?" And I was like,
"You mean?"
Hey, here it is. It's like right here. Yeah.
Okay, so Eka has an arm's length from her. She keeps a labeler, whereas I keep this. So you decide who you want giving you tips on organization here. You can come to either one of us. We're both happy to help you, but I'd go to Eka.
Here I am, right? This is me. And then I've got this girl, this poor thing, who had to live in this house. So, at the time it was really frustrating, but for both of us, but now that she's older, I'm like, dang, that poor thing living in this house,
I know, now I look back with empathy, but at the time you're with them, and you see that they are struggling with it, it's really hard. And if anybody who's watching this has tips for how you've conquered this disconnect between your organizational abilities and your kids, we'd love to hear about it. I just not too long ago, both my kids are at college. I'm not a snooper. I don't go snooping in the rooms, but occasionally you have to go into dust or something. And one of her desk drawers was open, a crack. And I could see that the reason it was open is because it could not be closed, because there's just so much stuff in there. And it's like everything she's ever had in her life, every little carnival prize, every Post-it note. It's kind of a nightmare. So I sent her a gentle text and I said, I am not looking through your drawers, but I happen to notice that your desk is a little overflowing. Would you be amenable to me organizing it for you? And she said, LOL, hell no. There was no ambiguity in that. I was like, okay. So again, I just close the door, walk away. But I mean, I had a teacher in 6th grade, Mrs. Simmies. We were deathly afraid of her, but she was a great teacher. She was one of those great teachers you remember forever. She would not tolerate that nonsense. If your desk was really messy, you'd come in the morning and it was dumped over and all of your contents were there and you had no choice but to organize it and get it all put back together before she would set it back upright for you. She was built like a linebacker, this woman. You didn't mess with Mrs. Simmies. So I mean, I really wanted to jump over my kid's desk, but I had to
right. And and I guess the other part was that then her younger sister was so over the top organized that I think it just fed into it even more. But though she did pick up so my younger one, and I don't mean this disparaging but she's a little bit like on the OCD side. Everything has to be, and even as like a young kid, we're talking like 4 and 5, she would be crying. I could hear her crying in her room at bedtime. And I would walk in and I'd be like, what's up? What's wrong, baby? And she'd be like, how can I sleep when I didn't finish organizing Barbie's shoes? And I'd be like, hop on out of bed and let's get those shoes organized so you can get some sleep.
Did Barbie have little Sterilite boxes to put all of her shoes in?
No, she liked to organize them from lightest to darkest in color.
Oh, bless her.
She'd been playing and she didn't get a chance to organize the shoes before she went to bed. So because I knew that it was her personality, whatever, we organized shoes before she could go to sleep, and then she could go to sleep. So then as she got older, I don't know if she picked up tips where she got them. She got them from a teacher. One of her tips, one of the things she did, starting in like 1st, 2nd grade, probably when she started using pens, she would get a different color folder and notebook and pen. So, social studies would be all purple. One would be pink. One would be yellow, whatever.
That too. I thought that was pretty helpful.
Right. And so everything, and I think now she's in college and I think she still does that.
That's so cute. And I know my kids do too. Like for years, I think social studies was red, math was blue. I mean, I think they were like designated subject colors.
Right. And then she would write in that color pen too, if she was allowed to, not the homework part.
Right.
But
like in her planner or whatever.
And maybe even sometimes notes, I'm not sure. But so then my older daughter would see this because like they would used to do their homework at the kitchen table, and he would pick up those things, some of those little.
Yeah, I think there is something to that. You hit on that idea of maybe it can't come from us, more from a peer or a teacher they admire, perhaps, if there is such a thing in their life. At some point, anything that comes from us is not
right.
We have to recognize that and be okay with it. And also, I think sometimes if you notice too much, that's not good. Like you can't overpraise and say, "Wow, I see you organized that." You just have to kind of be like, "Oh, like file it away." But it's a matter of the less said, the better, usually.
Yeah, it was really. Sometimes it was really hard, and as she got older, like you said, I just had to keep my mouth closed, and her car, I was just in her car last week and her car is an absolute disgusting time.
Did it make you want to cry?
It was like gross. And I said, I was like, oh my God, girl, your mom, I just cleaned it for you.
Okay, that tells you everything you need to know.
But the other thing that she had to get her life organized was she was late her freshman year of college. She was late getting in her housing application.
Oh, natural consequences. I am a big fan.
And the natural consequence is she ended up in a triple.
Oh,
she ended up in a triple, and she's 5'10". And what's the deal? She's 5'10". Her roommate was 6 feet tall, and her other roommate was like 5'11". So you had these 3 really tall girls with really long wingspans living in
a shoebox.
In a shoebox. It was a double that got turned into a triple.
Oh no, worse.
And it was also on the main hallway in the dorm that goes like straight to the elevator. So
traffic.
And high traffic, really noisy, and everybody stopped by to say hi. And so I think at that point she couldn't be disorganized anymore, because she had to know where her stuff is all the time, because the doors were always open and she never knew who was going to come in. You know what I mean? Like the doors were always unlocked because it was like the place where everybody stopped. It was like the hub.
Right.
And so she just couldn't leave her stuff everywhere. She had to start making her bed because people were going to sit on it.
Wow.
You know, and so all of that kind of stuff, it was like a natural consequence of, and it taught her a lot about not having her stuff strewn everywhere and not being disorganized. And also at that time then, because she was in the Adderall at that time, she had a safe.
Oh, right. That happens in college. And you go to college with Adderall, they usually have to lock it up, just so you know.
Right. And, you know, and I would say to her, you know, this is a regulated medicine. You get 90 days worth. If something happens to it, you don't get any extra. It's highly regulated through your pediatrician. You know, we had this talk. So, I mean, that part of it really taught her to be organized. She didn't have a choice. I mean, she lived with two other really tall women that really sucked up all the air out of a room, and you're not allowed to take it all, you know?
So I guess the moral of the story is, if you're suffering with this right now at home, it may right itself eventually. There is the possibility of help. It probably can't come from you necessarily. And also I do think the natural consequences are a big thing. Like at some point I stopped bringing my kids things that they left, and I would just say, well, that's going to be a tough day. That you know, sorry you didn't bring your flute, and that meant you couldn't participate in band, and you had to sit there like a dork. That happens. Oh. I gave my kids each like the Tim Gunn save, as we called it, because we used to like to watch Project Runway. I'd bring it to them, leave it at the office with a note saying, "This was your one Tim Gunn save. You're out. This is the rest of the semester."
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, some of the stuff I felt was like hard parenting. Like, you know, as much as I wanted to bring the physics homework to school, whatever, I'm like,
it hurts physically to see that left and to go, oh, they spent all that time on that. And I mean, I would want somebody to bring it to me too, but we can't. It's all about the scaffolding. You got to gradually take some of the pieces away and let them figure it out. And they do. They do.
And you know what? I mean, you and I actually right now have the luxury of kind of looking back on this retrospectively. At the time, it was like, kill me now, you know?
So frustrating. Yeah. So we feel you. We really do.
Yeah.
So anyway, if you have other thoughts out there in TV land, let us know.
Oh, you know what? Jessica actually, Jessica's, you know, our behind the scenes woman, she posted the article my daughter wrote.
Oh, yes. You have to check this out.
Yeah. So this is the article she wrote about basically getting stuff together, you know.
And you wrote a rebuttal to her article.
I did. And I wrote, you know, and then I wrote about it because we both recognized how hard it was. And the fact that, you know, I was able to get this mug in their 20s, you know, it's like, okay, maybe I didn't do the best. And I'm going to tell you right now, it wasn't sunshine and roses by any means.
I have some other really great articles on our website you might want to check out. My particular favorite is the one about the Mother's Day that wasn't so happy.
Mother's Day.
We'll say that because Mother's Day is coming up. So,
right. But you know, I got to tell you, I mean, probably over time, but I got to tell you though, one of the things I've been really, and you, Jen, you know this because you see me every Monday. I've been really open about my mothering, my parenting, and I've been very open about the highs and the lows. I mean, I've mined my lows also because to me, it's been such a labor of love, but it's really been work. I mean, I took this whole parenting thing, and I still do. I take it very seriously because I figure it's my legacy, and it's what I'm putting out to the world. And these girls are awesome, and I'm going to take some credit, and some of it is their father's and also their own. But it's a really tough job that I take very seriously, and
and it never ends.
It never ends, and you know, and sometimes I think if I had known. Honestly, I'm going to say this, and people are going to be like, if I had known how hard it was going to be, I don't know if I could have done it. I mean,
the llamas instead or something, you know. I mean,
honestly, it has been like you know, that it's a cliche, it's your kids are like wearing your heart out on your sleeve. I mean, it is. And every time they hurt, I hurt like 18 times worse.
Yeah.
And every time they're happy, it's like I'm living in a cloud with their happiness. I mean, maybe that's not good to be like that, but it is what it is.
It is. I think that is the way it is for that. I think that you just described motherhood for,
So, I mean, it was tough. Those years were tough. There was a lot of tears on both of us. I mean, I said some things that I probably shouldn't have, like, oh my God, why can't you just listen to me? Because I'm right, kind of thing. And all that kind of stupid crap we say that you regret later and you apologize for.
We're humans. These things come out of our mouths. And then, I tell my kids, what else would you have to talk to your therapist about? That's
what I always tell my girls too. When they fight, I always go, hey, listen, you're the only one who's going to understand what it was like to be raised by your crazy mother. So you need to be best friends because no one else will understand.
That's a good point. That is a bonding thing at some point. Well, so much fodder for further conversation. So what do you think, guys? Should we have Eka come back again? I think she hit it out of the park. She's so much good wisdom. Eka, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thanks for inviting me. This is really fun.
Yeah, well,
you did feel like I was with Brene Brown. Are we going to do rapid questions now?
Yes, we are. Ready? Get that labeler out. Let's go.
So thanks, guys, for tuning in.
Thanks, everybody. See you again next week.
Any questions for either of us, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. You know how to find Eka now because she's on your radar. So yeah, reach out.
I got this. Shout out there.
Eka to make you some custom labels.
So you guys, I got this as a product thing for your team, and I'm going to tell you, I highly recommend it for everything.
And we're not getting paid from them to say that.
No, I love this thing. I love this thing, and in fact, my husband used it, and he loved it so much he went and got his own for his office.
Eka, if you love it so much, why don't you marry it?
Oh my God! It was 7.
Thank you, Eka. We'll see you again next week, 10:30 on Wednesdays.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.